The workmen have been told to move heaven and earth because the mortuaries are full and the funeral parlours are overrun. The virus has taken hold in the city of Port Elizabeth and there are hundreds of bodies to bury. Like mother of four, Joyce Money, who died in an overcrowded hospital. No one sang or prayed. Instead, her loved ones looked on from a distance, too fearful to approach the grave.
People are so afraid of this virus. And one would say people are discriminating their own. When you pay the last respect, you throw a piece of soil to say a goodbye to the person. With this pandemic, nothing of the sort happens. It's very sad.
Some thought South Africa had avoided the worst, but the pandemic has taken root, and the country's poorly managed health system has begun to buckle. At Motherwell Hospital, residents started queuing at 2 a.m. for COVID tests or medication, and many residents were clearly desperate. Are you worried about COVID?
I'm worried, man. I'm worried very much, but I can't help it. But people, they are fasting, they are close to each other. I'm very worried.
This is terrible. Sick people are getting sicker. Some are dying on their legs, you know. It's hurting. It's hurting really. You just wonder, what's our people doing about this?
The authorities had months to plan, but the pandemic seems to have taken them by surprise. When protective suits ran out at one hospital, nurses were given raincoats instead. And there are some who have had to make their own. Every health worker we spoke to talked of a terrible shortage of staff. This nurse did not want to be identified.
How many are missing at the moment?
You can say plus minus 30 nurses, but last week, one from casualty tested positive and 2 tested positive in ICU. It keeps rising and rising and rising.
He works at a designated COVID treatment facility called Livingston Hospital, and it appears to be falling apart. Medical waste spills out of storerooms and filthy beds clutter the corridors. And the washing machines are broken, so they can't clean the sheets. These pictures were sent to us by staff members.
Tell me about the cleanliness of the hospital.
Oh, I wish you could just go there and see it. It's dirty, dirty, dirty there.
It's dirty.
The medical waste, you find it on the floor, and there are piles of linen with feces and flies.
There are other things to worry about at Livingston Hospital, like the lack of beds in intensive care. Dedicated doctors are forced to select a small number for treatment.
It's heartbreaking in the sense that you end up, yourself and your team, having to say no to somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother, somebody's father, somebody's uncle.
Do you have a rough idea of how many referrals get rejected?
We will accept round about maybe some 25% of the referrals.
25%?
So, yeah, so maybe the other 75% is unfortunately not going to...
You can't treat?
We're not going to get a bed.
The provincial government has been given a supersized field hospital, and opposition parliamentarian Jane Cowley took us to see it.
In 7 weeks.
This one-time car factory boasts 1,400 hospital beds, the German government paying for the refit. But there are only a handful of patients inside.
So the recruitment process is already in process.
The government doesn't have the people to run this facility,
Yeah, we'll go there.
and they've only just started to recruit them. So I asked how long it was going to take.
Let's hope that they do get those staff in place within the next week to 10 days.
Realistic?
No, not realistically. Hopefully, but not realistically. Yeah.
The Premier of this province admits the health system is overwhelmed, and he's called on military personnel to assist. But the people of the region are scared, and there is little confidence in those who have been appointed to protect them. John Sparks, Sky News, Port Elizabeth.